I was going on, and here I am muted. Welcome, Wapham crew, guys, gals, ghouls, and otherworldly beings. Let's climb aboard the mothership, secure our tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. I'm your ghostess with the mostest, TessaTNT, broadcasting live from the Mile High Clubhouse tonight. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, and welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. It's an honor and a pleasure hanging out with you. If you want to listen in your free time, whether you're working it, or working out, oh my goodness, you can find us basically anywhere you find your podcasts or broadcasts. All right, so tonight is story time with me, TessaTNT, and we're going to be reading a story. I actually realized that my library, you can just go online and check out certain books, and I think I found the good one. I'm intrigued. It's called The Women in White by Wilkie Collins. It's a Duke classic. This was first published in 1860, if you can believe that. There's a little warning. What does it say? Well, every effort has been used to ensure the accuracy and reliability of the information contained in this edition. Duke Classics does not assume liability or responsibility for any errors or omissions in this book. Duke Classics does not accept responsibility for loss suffered as a result of reliance upon the accuracy or currency of information contained in this book. So there's 3 epics and then some end notes in the contents here. Here, give me one second. The first epic, the story begun by Walter Hartwright of Clement's Inn, teacher of drawing. This is the story of what a woman's patience can endure and what a man's resolution can achieve. If the machinery of the law could be depended on to fathom every case of suspicion and to conduct every process of inquiry with gold, the events which fill these pages might have claimed their share of the public attention in a court of justice. But the law is still, in certain inevitable cases, the pre-engaged servant of the long purse, and the story is left to be told for the first time in this place. As the judge might once have heard it, so the reader shall hear it now. No circumstance of importance from the beginning to the end of the disclosure shall be related on hearsay evidence. When the writer of these introductory lines, Walter Hartwright by name, happens to be more closely connected than others with the incidents to be recorded, he will describe them in his own person. When his experience fails, he will retire from the position of narrator, and his task will be continued from the point at which he has left it off, by other persons who can speak to the circumstances under notice from their own knowledge, just as clearly and positively as he has spoken before them. Thus the story here presented will be told by more than one pen, as the story of an offense against the law is told in court by more than one witness, with the same object in both cases, to present the truth always in its most direct and most intelligible aspect, and to trace the course of one complete series of events by making the persons who have been most closely connected with them at each successive stage, relate their own experience word for word. Let Walter Hartwright, teacher of drawing, aged 28 years, be heard first. It was the last day of July. The long hot summer was drawing to a close, and we, the weary pilgrims of the London pavement, were beginning to think of the cloud shadows on the cornfields and the autumn breezes on the seashore. For my own poor part, the fading summer left me out of health, out of spirits, and, if the truth must be told, out of money as well. During the past year, I had not managed my professional resources as carefully as usual, and my extravagance now limited me to the prospect of spending the autumn economically between my mother's cottage at Hampstead and my own chambers in town. The evening, I remember, was still and cloudy. The London air was at its heaviest. The distant hum of the street traffic was at its faintest. The small pulse of the life within me and the great heart of the city around me seemed to be sinking in unison, languidly and more languidly with the sinking sun. I roused myself from the book which I was dreaming over rather than reading and left my chambers to meet the cool night air in the suburbs. It was one of the 2 evenings in every week which I was accustomed to spend with my mother and my sister, so I turned my steps northward in the direction of Hampstead. Events which I have yet to relate make it necessary to mention in this place that my father had been dead some years at the period of which I am now writing, and that my sister Sarah and I were the sole survivors of a family of 5 children. My father was a drawing master before me. His exertions had made him highly successful in his profession, and his affectionate anxiety to provide for the future of those who were dependent on his labors had impelled him, from the time of his marriage, to devote to the ensuring of his life a much larger portion of his income than most men consider it necessary to set aside for the purpose. Thanks to his admirable prudence and self-denial, my mother and sister were left, after his death, as independent of the world as they had been during his lifetime. I succeeded to his connection and had every reason to feel grateful for the prospect that awaited me at my starting in life. The quiet twilight was still trembling on the topmost ridges of the heath, and the view of London below me had sunk into a black gulf in the shadow of the cloudy night. When I stood before the gate of my mother's cottage, I had hardly rung the bell before the house door was opened violently. My worthy Italian friend, Professor Pesca, appeared in the servant's place, and darted out jealously to receive me with a shrill foreign parody on an English cheer. On his own account, and I must be allowed to add on mine also, the professor merits the honor of a formal introduction. Accident has made him the starting point of the strange family story which it is the purpose of these pages to unfold. I had first become acquainted with my Italian friend by meeting him at certain great houses, where he taught his own language and I taught drawing. All I then knew of the history of his life was that he had once held a situation in the University of Padua, that he had left Italy for political reasons, the nature of which he uniformly declined to mention to anyone, and that he had been for many years respectably established in London as a teacher of languages. Without being actually a dwarf, for he was perfectly well proportioned from head to foot, Pesca was, I think, the smallest human being I ever saw out of a showroom. Remarkable anywhere by his personal appearance, he was still further distinguished among the rank and file of mankind by the harmless eccentricity of his character. The ruling idea of his life appeared to be that he was bound to show his gratitude to the country which had afforded him an asylum and a means of subsistence by doing his utmost to turn himself into an Englishman. Not content with paying the nation in general the compliment of invariably carrying an umbrella and invariably wearing gaiters and a white hat, the professor further aspired to become an Englishman in his habits and amusements, as well as in his personal appearance. Finding us distinguished as a nation by our love of athletic exercises, the little man, in the innocence of his heart, devoted himself impromptu to all our English sports and pastimes whenever he had the opportunity of joining them. Firmly persuaded that he could adopt our national amusements of the field by an effort of will, precisely as he had adopted our national gaiters and our national white hat. I had seen him risk his limbs blindly at a fox hunt and in a cricket field, and soon afterwards I saw him risk his life just as blindly in the Sea of Brighton. We had met there accidentally and were bathing together. If we had been engaged in any exercise peculiar to my own nation, I should, of course, have looked after Pesca carefully. But as foreigners are generally quite as well able to take care of themselves in the water as Englishmen, it never occurred to me that the art of swimming might merely add one more to the list of manly exercises which the professor believed that he could learn impromptu. Soon after we had both struck out from shore, I stopped, finding my friend did not gain on me, and turned round to look for him. To my horror and amazement, I saw nothing between me and the beach but two little white arms, which struggled for an instant above the surface of the water, and then disappeared from view. When I dived for him, the poor little man was lying quietly coiled up at the bottom in a hollow of shingle, looking by many degrees smaller than I had ever seen him look before. During the few minutes that elapsed while I was taking him in, the air revived him, and he ascended the steps of the machine with my assistance. With the partial recovery of his animation came the return of his wonderful delusion on the subject of swimming. As soon as his chattering teeth would let him speak, he smiled vacantly and said he thought it must have been the cramp. When he had thoroughly recovered himself and had joined me on the beach, his warm southern nature broke through all artificial English restraints in a moment. He overwhelmed me with the wildest expressions of affection, exclaimed passionately in his exaggerated Italian way that he would hold his life henceforth at my disposal, and declare that he should never be happy again until he had found an opportunity of proving his gratitude by rendering me some service which I might remember on my side to be the end of my days. I did my best to stop the torrent of his tears and protestations by persisting in treating the whole adventure as a good subject for a joke, and succeeded at last, as I imagined, in lessening Pesca's overwhelming sense of obligation to me. Little did I think then, little did I think afterwards, when our pleasant holiday had drawn to an end, that the opportunity of serving me, for which my grateful companion so ardently longed, was soon to come, that he was eagerly to seize it on the instant, and that by so doing he was to turn the whole current of my existence into a new channel, and to alter me into myself almost past recognition. Yet so it was. If I had not dived for Professor Pesca when he lay under water on his shingle bed, I would, in all human probability, never have been connected with the story which these pages will relate. I should never perhaps have heard even the name of the woman who has lived in all my thoughts, who has possessed herself of all my energies, who has become the one guiding influence that now directs the purpose of my life. 3. Heska's face and manner on the evening when we confronted each other at my mother's gate were more than sufficient to inform me that something extraordinary had happened. It was quite useless, however, to ask him for an immediate explanation. I could only conjecture, while he was dragging me in by both hands, that, knowing my habits, he had come to the cottage to make sure of meeting me that night, and that he had some news to tell of an unusually agreeable kind. We both bounced into the parlor in a highly abrupt and undignified manner. My mother sat by the open window laughing and fanning herself. Heska was one of her especial favorites, and his wildest eccentricities were always pardonable in her eyes. Poor dear soul! From the first moment when she found out that the little professor was deeply and gratefully attached to her son, she opened her heart to him unreservedly and took all of his puzzling foreign peculiarities for granted, without so much as attempting to understand any one of them. My sister Sarah, with all the advantages of youth, was strangely enough less pliable. She did full justice to Pesca's excellent qualities of heart, but she could not accept him implicitly, as my mother accepted him, for my sake. Her insular notions of propriety rose in perpetual revolt against Pesca's constitutional contempt for appearances, and she was always more or less undisguisedly astonished at her mother's familiarity with the eccentric little foreigner. I have observed, not only in my sister's case, but in the instances of others, that we of the young generation are nothing like so hardy and so impulsive as some of our elders. I constantly see old people flushed and excited by the prospect of some anticipated pleasure which altogether fails to ruffle the tranquillity of their serene grandchildren. Are we, I wonder, quite such genuine boys and girls now as our seniors were in their time? Has the great advance in education taken rather too long a stride, and are we in these modern days just the least trifle in the world too well brought up? Without attempting to answer those questions decisively, I may at least record that I never saw my mother and my sister together in Pesca's society. Without finding my mother much the younger woman of the two. On this occasion, for example, while the old lady was laughing heartily over the boyish manner in which we tumbled into the parlor, Sarah was perturbedly picking up the broken pieces of a teacup which the professor had knocked off the table in his precipitate advance to meet me at the door. "I don't know what would have happened, Walter," said my mother, "if you had delayed much longer. Pesca has been half mad with impatience, and I have been half mad with curiosity. The professor has brought some wonderful news with him in which he says you are concerned, and he has cruelly refused to give us the smallest hint of it till his friend Walter appeared." "Very provoking. It spoils the set," murmured Sarah to herself mournfully, absorbed over the ruins of the broken cup. While these words were being spoken, Pesca, happily and fussily unconscious of the irreparable wrong which the crockery had suffered at his hands, was dragged a large armchair to the opposite end of the room, so as to command us all three, in the character of a public speaker addressing an audience. Having turned the chair with its back towards us, he jumped into it on his knees and excitedly addressed his small congregation of three from an impromptu pulpit. Now, my good dears, began Pesca, who always said good dears when he meant worthy friends, listen to me. The time has come. I recite my good news. I speak at last. Hear, hear, said my mother, humoring the joke. The next thing he will break, mamma, whispered Sarah, will be the back of the best armchair. I go back into my life and I address myself to the noblest of created beings, continued Pesca, vehemently apostrophizing my unworthy self over the top rail of the chair, who found me dead at the bottom of the sea through cramp, and who pulled me up to the top. And what did I say when I got into my own life and my own clothes again? Much more than was at all necessary, I answered doggedly as possible. For the least encouragement in connection with this subject invariably let loose the professor's emotions in a flood of tears. I said, persistent Pesca, that my life belonged to my dear friend Walter for the rest of my days, and so it does. He said that I should never be happy again till I had found the opportunity of doing a good something for Walter, and I have never been contented with myself till this most blessed day. Now, cried the enthusiastic little man at the top of his voice, the overflowing happiness bursts out of me at every pore of my skin, like the perspiration, for on my faith and soul and honor, the something is done at last, and the only word to say now is right, all right. It may be necessary to explain here that Pesca prided himself on being a perfect Englishman in his language as well as in his dress, manners, and amusements, having picked up a few of our most familiar whenever they happened to occur to him, turning them, in his high relish for their sound and his general ignorance of their sense, into compound words and repetitions of his own, and always running them into each other, as if they consisted of one long syllable. Among the fine London houses where I teach the language of my native country, said the professor, rushing into his long-deferred explanation without another word of preface, there is one mighty fine in the big place called Portland. You all know where that is, yes? Yes? Of course. Of course. The fine house, my good dears, has got inside it a fine family. A mamma, fair and fat, 3 young misses, fair and fat, 2 young misters, fair and fat, and a papa, the fairest and fattest of all, who is a mighty merchant, up to his eyes in gold. A fine man once, but seeing that he has got a naked head and 2 chins, fine no longer at the present time. Now mind, I teach the sublime Dante to the young misses, and my soul, bless my soul, it is not in human language to say how the sublime Dante puzzles the pretty heads of all 3. No matter, all in good time, and the more lessons, the better for me. Now mind, imagine to yourselves that I am teaching the young misses today as usual. We are all 4 of us down together in the hell of Dante, at the 7th circle, but no matter for that, all the circles are alike to the 3 young misses, fair and fat. At the 7th circle, nevertheless, my pupils are sticking fast, and I, to set them going again, recite, explain, and blow myself up red-hot with useless enthusiasm, when a creak of boots in the passage outside, and in comes the golden papa, the mighty merchant with the naked head and the 2 chins. My good dears, I am closer than you think, for to the business now. Have you been patient so far, or have you said to yourselves, deuce, what the deuce? Pesca is long-winded tonight. We declared that we were deeply interested. The professor went on. In his hand the golden papa has a letter, and after he has made his excuse for disturbing us in our infernal region with the common mortal business of the house, he addresses himself to the 3 young misses, and begins, as you English begin everything in this blessed world that you have to say, with a great "Oh! Oh, my dears," says the mighty merchant, "I have got here a letter from my friend Mr. The name has slipped out of my mind, but no matter. We shall come back to that. Yes, yes, right, all right. So the papa says, I've got a letter from my friend, the mister, and he wants a recommend from me of a drawing master to go down to his house in the country. My soul, bless my soul, when I heard the golden papa say these words, if I had been big enough to reach up to him, I should have put my arms around his neck and pressed him to my bosom in a long and grateful hug. As it was, I only bounced upon my chair. My seat was on thorns, and my soul was on fire to speak, but I held my tongue and let papa go on. Perhaps you know, says the good man of money, whittling his friend's letter this way and that in his golden fingers and thumbs. Perhaps you know, my dears, of a drawing master that I can recommend. The three young misses all look at each other and then say, with the indispensable great O to begin, Oh, dear no, papa, but here's Mr. Pasca. At the mention of myself, I can hold no longer the thought of you, my good dears. Mounts like blood to my head. I start from my seat as if a spike had grown up from the ground, though the bottom of my chair. I address myself to the mighty merchant, and I say, English phrase, Dear sir, I have the man, the first and foremost drawing master of the world. Recommend him by the post tonight and send him off, bag and baggage. English phrase again. Ha! Send him off, bag and baggage, by the train tomorrow. Stop, stop, says papa. Is he a foreigner or an Englishman? English to the bone of his back, I answer. Respectable, says papa. Sir, I say, for this last question of his outrages me, and I have done being familiar with him. Sir, the immortal fire of genius burns in this Englishman's bosom, and, what is more, his father had it before him. Never mind, says the golden barbarian of a papa. Never mind about his genius, Mr. Pasca. We don't want genius in this country unless it is accompanied by respectability, and then we are very glad to have it, very glad indeed. Can your friend produce testimonials, letters that speak to his character? I wave my hand negligently. Letters, I say. Ah, my soul, bless my soul. I should think so indeed. Volumes of letters and portfolios of testimonials, if you like. One or two will do, says the man of phlegm and money. Let him send them to me with his name and address, and stop, Mr. Pesca, before you go to your friend. You had better take a note. Bank note, I say indignantly. No bank note, if you please, till my brave Englishman has earned it first. Bank note, says papa, in a great surprise. Who talked of bank note? I mean a note of the terms, a memorandum of what he is expected to do. Go on with your lesson, Mr. Pesca, and I will give you the necessary extract for my friend's letter. Down sits the man of merchandise and the money to his pen, ink, and paper, and down I go, again, into the hell of Dante, with my three young misses after me. In 10 minutes' time the note is written, and the boots of papa are creaking themselves away in the passage outside from the moment. On my path and soul and honor, I know nothing more. Glorious thought that I have caught my opportunity at last, and that my grateful service for my dearest friend in the world is as good as done already, flies up into my head and makes me drunk. How I pull my young misses and myself out of our infernal region again, how my other business is done afterwards, how my little bit of dinner slides itself down my throat, I know no more than a man in the moon. Enough for me that here I am, with the mighty merchant's note in my hand, as large as life, as hot as fire, and as happy as a king. Ha, ha, ha. Right, all right. Here the professor waved the memorandum of terms over his head and ended his long and voluble narrative with his shrill Italian parody on an English cheer. My mother rose the moment he had done, with flushed cheeks and brightened eyes. She caught the little man warmly by both hands. My dear good Pesca, she said, I never doubted your true affection for Walter, but I am more than ever persuaded of it now. I am sure we are very much obliged to Professor Pesca for Walter's sake, added Sarah. She half rose while she spoke, as if to approach the armchair in her turn, but observing that Pesca was rapturously kissing my mother's hand, looked serious and resumed her seat. If the familiar little man treats my mother in that way, how will he treat me? Faces sometimes tell truth, and that was unquestionably the thought in Sarah's mind as she sat down again. Although I myself was gratefully sensible of the kindness of Pesca's motives, my spirits were hardly so much elevated as they ought to have been by the prospect of future employment now placed before me. When the professor had quite done with my mother's hand, and when I had warmly thanked him for his interference on my behalf, I asked to be allowed to look at the note of terms which his respectable patron had drawn up for my inspection. Pesca handed me the paper with a triumphant flourish of the hand. "Read," said the little man majestically. "I promise you, my friend, the writing of the Golden Papa speaks with a tongue of trumpets for itself." The note of terms was plain, straightforward, and comprehensive. At any rate, it informed me. First, that Frederick Farley, Esquire, of Limmeridge House, Cumberland, wanted to engage the services of a thoroughly competent drawing master for a period of 4 months certain. Secondly, that the duties which the master was expected to perform would be of a twofold kind. He was to superintend the instructor of 2 young ladies in the art of painting and watercolors, and he was to devote his leisure time afterwards to the business of repairing and mounting a valuable collection of drawings, which had been suffered to fall into a condition of total neglect. Thirdly, that the terms offered to the person who should undertake and properly perform these duties were 4 guineas a week, that he was to reside at Limmeridge House, and that he was to be treated there on the footing of a gentleman. Fourthly and lastly, that no person need think of applying for this situation unless he could furnish the most unexceptionable references to character and abilities. The references were to be sent to Mr. Fairley's friend in London, who was empowered to conclude all name and address of Pesca's employer in Portland Place, and there the note or memorandum ended. The prospect which this offer of an engagement held out was certainly an attractive one. The employment was likely to be both easy and agreeable. It was supposed to me at the autumn time of the year when I was least occupied, and the terms, judging by my personal experience in my profession, were surprisingly liberal. I knew this. I knew that I ought to consider myself very fortunate if I succeed in securing the offered employment. And yet, no sooner had I read the memorandum than I felt an inexplicable unwillingness within me to stir in the matter. I had never in the whole of my previous experience found my duty and my inclination so painfully and so unaccountably at variance as I found them now. "Oh, Walter, your father never had such a chance as this," said my mother when she had read the note of terms and had handed it back to me. "Such distinguished people to know," remarked Sarah, straightening herself in the chair, "and on such gratifying terms of equality, too." Yes, the terms in every sense are tempting enough," I replied impatiently. "But before I send in my testimonials, I should like a little time to consider." "Consider!" exclaimed my mother. "Why, Walter, what is the matter with you?" "Consider!" echoed my sister. "What a very extraordinary thing to say under the circumstances." "Consider!" chimed the professor. "What is there to consider about? Answer me this. Have you not been complaining of your health, and have you not been longing for what you call a smack of the country breeze? Well, there in your hand is the paper that offers you perpetual choking mouthfuls of country breeze for 4 months' time. Is it not so? Ha! Again, you want money. Well, is 4 golden guineas a week nothing? My soul, bless my soul, only give it to me, and my boots shall creak like the Golden Papa's with a sense of overpowering richness of the man who walks in them. 4 guineas a week, and more than that, the charming society of 2 young misses, and more than that, your bed, your breakfast, your dinner, your gorging English teas. and lunches and drinks of foaming beer, all for nothing. Why, Walter, my dear good friend, deuce, what the deuce? For the first time in my life, I have not easy enough eyes in my head to look and wonder at you. Neither my mother's evident astonishment at my behavior nor Pesca's fervid enumeration of the advantages offered to me by the new employment had any effect in shaking my unreasonable disinclination to go to Limmeridge House. After starting all the petty objections that I could think of to going to Cumberland, and after hearing them answered, one after another, to my own complete discomfiture, I tried to set up a last obstacle by asking what was to become of my pupils in London while I was teaching Mr. Fairley's young ladies to sketch from nature. The obvious answer to this was that the greater part of them would be away on their autumn travels, and that the few who remained at home might be confided to the care of one of my brother drawing-masters, whose pupils I had once taken off his hand under similar circumstances. My sister reminded me that this gentleman had expressly placed his services at my disposal during the present season in case I wished to leave town. My mother seriously appealed to me not to let an idle caprice stand in the way of my own interest and my own health, and Pesca piteously entreated that I would not wound him to the heart by rejecting the first grateful offer of service that he had been able to take to the friend who had saved his life. The evident sincerity and affection which inspired these remonstrances would have influenced any man with an atom of good feeling in his composition. Though I could not conquer my own unaccountable perversity, I had at least virtue enough to be heartily ashamed of it, and to end the discussion pleasantly by giving way and promising to do all that was wanted of me. The rest of the evening passed merrily enough in humorous anticipations of my coming life with the two young ladies in Cumberland. Pesca, inspired by our national grog, which appeared to get into his head in the most marvelous manner, 5 minutes after it had been done and gone down his throat, asserted his claims to be considered a complete Englishman by making a series of speeches in rapid succession, proposing my mother's health, my sister's health, my health, and the healths in mass of Mr. Fairley and the two young misses, pathetically returning thanks himself immediately afterwards for the whole party. "A secret, Walter," said my little friend confidently, as we walked home together. I am flushed by the recollection of my own eloquence. My soul bursts itself with ambition. One of these days I go into your noble parliament. It is the dream of my whole life to be Honorable Pesca, MP. The next morning I sent my testimonials to the professor's employer in Portland Place. 3 days passed, and I concluded with secret satisfaction that my papers had not been found sufficiently explicit. On the 4th day, however, an answer came. It announced that Mr. Farley accepted my services and requested me to start for Cumberland immediately. All the necessary instructions for my journey were carefully and clearly added in a postscript. I made my arrangements unwillingly enough for leaving London early the next day. Towards evening, Pesca looked in on his way to a dinner party to bid me good-bye. "I shall dry my tears in your absence," said the professor gaily. "With this glorious thought, it is my auspicious hand that has given the first push to your fortune in the world. Go, my friend. When your sun shines in Cumberland, English proverb in the name of heaven, make your hay. Marry one of the two young misses, become Honorable Cartwright, MP, and when you are on the top of the ladder, remember that Pesca at the bottom has done it all." I tried to laugh with my little friend over his parting jest, but my spirits were not to be commanded. Something jarred in me almost painfully while he was speaking, his light farewell words. When I was left alone again, nothing remained to be done but to walk to the Hampstead cottage and bid my mother and Sarah goodbye. 4. The heat had been painfully oppressive all day, and it was now a close and sultry night. My mother and sister had spoken so many last words and had begged me to wait another 5 minutes so many times, that it was nearly midnight when the servant locked the garage gate behind me. I walked forward a few paces on the shortest way back to London, then stopped and hesitated. The moon was full and broad in the dark blue starless sky, and the broken ground of the heath looked wild enough in the mysterious light to be hundreds of miles away from the great city that lay beneath it. The idea of descending any sooner than I could help into the heat and gloom of London repelled me. The prospect of going to bed in my airless chambers and the prospect of gradual suffocation seemed, in my present restless frame of mind and body, to be one and the same thing. I determined to stroll home in the pure air by the most roundabout way I could take, to follow the white winding paths across the lonely heath, and to approach London through its most open suburb by striking into the Finchley Road, and so getting back in the cool of the new morning by the western side of the Regent's Park. I wound my way down slowly over the heath, enjoying the divine stillness of the scene, and admiring the soft alternations of light and shade as they followed each other over the broken ground on every side of me. So long as I was proceeding through this first and prettiest part of my night walk, my mind remained passively open to the impressions produced by the view, and I thought but little on any subject. Indeed, so far as my own sensations were concerned, I can hardly say that I thought at all. But when I had left Heath and had turned into the by-road, where there was less to see, the ideas naturally engendered by the approaching change in my habits and occupations gradually drew more and more of my attention exclusively to themselves. By the time I had arrived at the end of the road, I had become completely absorbed in my own fanciful visions of Limmeridge House, or Mr. Farley and the two ladies, whose practice in the art of watercolor painting I was so soon to superintend. I had now arrived at that particular point of my walk where 4 roads met: the road to Hampstead, along which I had returned, the road to Finchley, the road to West End, and the road back to London. I had mechanically turned on this latter direction and was strolling along the lonely high road, idly wondering, I remember, the Cumberland young ladies would look like, when, in one moment, every drop of blood in my body was brought to a stop by the touch of a hand laid lightly and suddenly on my shoulder from behind me. I turned on the instant, with my fingers tightening round the handle of my stick. There in the middle of the road, bright high road, there, as if it had that moment sprung out of the earth or dropped from the heavens, stood the figure of a solitary woman, dressed from head to foot in white garments, her face bent in a grave inquiry on mine, her hand pointing to the dark cloud over London as I faced her. I was far too seriously startled by the suddenness with which this extraordinary apparition stood before me, in the dead of night and in that lonely place, to ask what she wanted. The strange woman spoke first. "Is that the road to London?" she asked. I looked attentively at her as she put that singular question to me. It was then nearly 1 o'clock. All I could discern distinctly by the moonlight was a colorless, youthful face, meagre and sharp to look at about the cheeks and chin, large, grave, wistfully attentive eyes, nervous, uncertain lips, and light hair of a pale brownish-yellow hue. There was nothing wild, nothing immodest in her manner. It was quite an quiet and self-controlled, a little melancholy and a little touched by suspicion. Not exactly the manner of a lady, and at the same time not the manner of a woman in the humblest rank of life. The voice, little as I had yet heard of it, had something curiously still and mechanical in its tone, and the utterance was remarkably rapid. She held a small bag in her hand, and her dress, bonnet, shawl, and gown, all of white, was, so far as I could guess, certainly not composed of very delicate or very expensive materials. Her figure was slight and rather above the average height, her gait and actions free from the slightest approach of extravagance. This was all that I could observe of her in the dim light and under the perplexingly strange circumstances of our meeting. What sort of woman she was, and how she came to be out alone in the high road, an hour after midnight, I altogether failed to guess. The one thing of which I felt certain was that the grossest of mankind could not have misconstrued her motive in speaking, even at that suspiciously late hour and in that suspiciously lonely place. "Did you hear me?" she said, still quietly and rapidly, and without least fretfulness or impatience. "I asked if that was the way to London." "Yes," I replied, "that is the way. It leads to St. John's Wood and the Regent's Park. You must excuse my not answering you before. I was rather startled by your sudden appearance in the road, and I am, even now, quite unable to account for it. You don't suspect me of doing anything wrong, do you?" "Have done nothing wrong. I have met with an accident. I am very unfortunate in being here alone so late." "Why do you suspect me of doing wrong?" He spoke with unnecessary earnestness and agitation, and shrank back from myself several paces. I did my best to reassure her. "Pray don't suppose that I have any idea of suspecting you," I said, "or any other wish than to be of assistance to you if I can. I only wondered at your appearance in the road because it seemed to me to be empty the instant before I saw you." She turned and pointed back to a place at the junction of the road to London and the road to Hampstead, where there was a gap in the hedge. "I heard you coming," she said, "and hid there to see what sort of man you were before I risked speaking. I doubted and feared about it till you passed, and then I was obliged to steal after you and touch you." "Steal after me and touch me? Why not call to me? Strange to say the least of it." "May I trust you?" she asked. "You don't think the worse of me because I have met with an accident?" She stopped in confusion, shifting her bag from one hand to the other, and sighed bitterly. The loneliness and helplessness of the woman touched me. The natural impulse to assist her and to spare her got the better of my judgment, the caution, the worldly tact, which an older, wiser, and colder man might have summoned to help him in this strange emergency. "You may trust me for any harmless purpose," I said. "If it troubles you to explain your strange situation to me, don't think of returning to the subject again. I have no right to ask you for any explanations. Tell me how I can help you, and if I can, I will." "You are very kind, and I am very, very thankful to have met you." The first touch of womanly tenderness that I had heard from her trembled in her voice as she said the words. But no tears glistened in those large, wistfully attentive eyes of hers, which were still fixed on me. "I have only been to London once before," she went on, more and more rapidly, "and I know nothing about that side of it yonder. Can I get a fly or a carriage of any kind? Is it too late? I don't know if you could show me where to get a fly, and if you will only promise not to interfere with me and to let me leave you when and how I please. I have a friend in London who will be glad to receive me. I want nothing else. Will you promise?" She looked anxiously up and down the road, shifted her bag again from one hand to the other, repeated the words, "Will you promise?" and looked hard in my face with a pleading fear and confusion that it troubled me to see. What could I do? Here was a stranger utterly and helplessly at my mercy, and that stranger a forlorn woman. No house was near, no one was passing whom I could consult, and no earthly right existed on my part to give me a power of control over her, even if I had known how to exercise it. I traced these lines self-distrustfully with the shadows of after events darkening the very paper on it. And still, I say, what could I do? What I did do was to try and gain time by questioning her. Are you sure that your friend in London will receive you at such a late hour as this? I said. Quite sure, only say you will let me leave you when and how I please. Only say you won't interfere with me. Will you promise? As she repeated the words for the third time, she came close to me and laid her hand with a sudden gentle stealthiness on my bosom. A thin hand, a cold hand when I removed it with mine. Even on that sultry night, remember that I was young, remember that the hand which touched me was a woman's. Will you promise? Yes. One word, the little familiar word that is on everybody's lips, every hour in the day. Oh me, and I tremble now when I write it. We set our faces towards London, and I walked on together in the first still hour of the new day. I and this woman whose name, whose character, whose story, whose objects in life, whose very presence by my side at the moment were fathomless mysteries to me. It was like a dream. Was I Walter Hartwright? Was this the well-known uneventful road where holiday people strolled on Sundays? Had I really left a little more than an hour since the quiet, decent, conventionally domestic atmosphere of my mother's cottage? I was too bewildered, too conscious also of a vague sense of something like self-reproach, to speak to my strange companion for some minutes. It was her voice again that first broke the silence between us. I want to ask you something, she said suddenly. Do you know many people in London? Yes, a great many. Many men of rank and title. There was an unmistakable tone of suspicion in the strange question. I hesitated about answering it. Some, I said after a moment's silence. Many? She came to a full stop and looked me searchingly in the face. Many men of rank and baronet? Too much astonished to reply, I questioned her in my turn. Why do you ask? Because I hope, for my own sake, there is one baronet that you don't know. Will you tell me his name? I can't, I daren't, I forget myself when I mention it. She spoke loudly and almost fiercely, raised her clenched hand in the air and shook it passionately, then on a sudden controlled herself again and added, in tones lowered to a whisper, Tell me which of them you know. I could hardly refuse to humor her in such a trifle, and I mentioned 3 names. 2 the names of fathers of families whose daughters I taught, 1 the name of a bachelor who had once taken me a cruise in his yacht to make sketches for him. Ah, you don't know him, she said, with a sigh of relief. Are you a man of rank and title yourself? Far from it. I am only a drawing master. As the reply passed my lips, a little bitterly perhaps, she took my arm with the abruptness which characterized all her actions. Not a man of rank and title? She repeated to herself. Thank God, I may trust him. I had hitherto contrived to master my curiosity out of consideration for my companion, but it got the better of me now. I am afraid you have serious reason to complain of some man of rank and title, I said. I am afraid the baronet whose name you are unwilling to mention to me has done you some grievous wrong. Is he the cause of your being out here at this strange time of night? Don't ask me, don't make me talk of it, she answered. I'm not fit now. I have been cruelly used and cruelly wrong. You will be kinder than ever if you will walk on fast and not speak to me. I sadly want to quiet myself if I can. We moved forward again at a quick pace, and for half an hour, at least, not a word passed on either side. From time to time, being forbidden to make any more inquiries, I stole a look at her face. It was always the same, the lips closed shut, the brow frowning, the eyes looking straight forward, eagerly, and yet absently. We had reached the first houses and were close on the new Wesleyan College before her set features relaxed and she spoke once more. Do you live in London? She said. Yes, as I answered, it struck me that she might have formed some intention of appealing to me for assistance or advice, and that I ought to spare her a possible disappointment by warning her of my approaching absence from home, so I added, but tomorrow I shall be away from London for some time. I am going into the country. Where? She asked. North or south? North to Cumberland. Cumberland? She repeated, the word tenderly. Ah, I wish I was going there too. I was once happy in Cumberland. I tried again to lift the veil that hung between this woman and me. Perhaps you were born, I said, in the beautiful lake country? No, she answered. I was born in Hampshire, but I once went to school for a little while in Cumberland. Lakes? I don't remember any lakes. It's Limmeridge Village and Limmeridge House I should like to see again. It was my turn now to stop suddenly. In the excited state of my curiosity at that moment, the chance reference to Mr. Fairley's place of residence on the lips of my strange companion staggered me with astonishment. Did you hear anybody calling after us? She asked, looking up and down the road affrightedly. The instant I stopped. No, I was only struck by the name of Limmeridge House. I heard it mentioned by some Cumberland people a few days since. Ah, not my people. Mrs. Fairley is dead, and her husband is dead, and their little girl may be married and gone away by this time. I can't say who lives at Limmeridge now. If any more are left there of that name, I only know I love them for Mrs. Fairley's sake. Excuse me. She seemed about to say more, but while she was speaking, we came within a view of Turnpike at the top of the Avenue Road. Her hand tightened round my arm, and she looked anxiously at the gate before us. Trying to consider if this is a place where I want to stop. I think I will. We'll stop right here. Oh no. Alright, so on that note, boys and girls, we are going to our first music break. On this break, we have Miss Tamara Bubble from the greater New York area with Laundry, Cute Panties, and Out the Mud. Then we have Griff from Toronto, Canada with Best Life. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Hey, get up on that washer, hit the spin cycle till I come home. Don't worry where I'm at, I'm out here breadwinning, so don't hit my phone. Shoulda never gave you treats like that, you got a sweet tooth and won't leave me alone. And every time I try to get some sleep, I wake up cause you doing me wrong. Nigga up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak, cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry, who doing laundry, who? You doing laundry, who doing laundry, who? You doing laundry, who? You doing laundry? Ain't playing, think I'm playing, I'ma have you doing them dishes too. Better lick them plates clean, be grateful for this delicious food. Why you want no fours? What you scrubbing floors cause you want some more? But you like it dirty, you is so dirty, you like it dirty. Sneaking up under covers, used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me sleeping? And second of all, why you creeping? Third of all up on me, rubbing like conditioner that you be trying to leave it. Relax, love, keep breathing. And I would say keep cleaning, but your leg is dirty. You is so dirty. Your leg is dirty. Sneaking up under covers. Used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak. Cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Get up on that washer. Hit the spin cycle till I come home. The way where I'm at, I'm out here bread winning, so don't hit my phone. Shoulda never gave you treats like that. You got a sweet tooth and won't leave me alone. And every time I try to get some sleep, I wake up cause you doing me wrong. Sneaking up under covers. Used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak. Cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Sneaking up under covers. Used to fight it, but I love it. Hate it that you got me weak. Cause now we ruin all these sheets. Like who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Who doing laundry? You doing laundry? Who? You doing laundry? Sneaking up under covers. Yeah, you like it dirty. You are so dirty. You like it dirty, yeah? Under covers. Yeah, you like it dirty. You are so dirty. You like it dirty, yeah? Yeah. Bubble on that. Yeah. Real cute. Underwear. To be honest, I don't really wear many. I don't even really rock panties. Let me be clear, I'm used to getting a few new big pair each year from my granny. Couple sexy ones that might come off, and I done had way too much. Any a drunk text go out. They come and eat the sweet juicy pie down there. I'ma go that route. But now, nigga, wrong song. I only need a couple of bars to turn you on. That's why I started mentioning that lingerie. But pull her to the studio with some long johns. This verse about to take a turn for the worse, and all them cute panties gonna be long gone. Cause the hating niggas that I wrote it for, they ain't afraid of wordplay, that's why they wrote this for. So I'ma drive them wild, thinking one day they might hit all about my voice shorts, G-strings, slutty thongs, even put them edible pennies on the cover so they wonder how that bubble tastes. You can stay mad, be miserable, old, predictable, maybe not even applicable, but yeah, you typical. Check your mans if it ain't you, cause way too many queens rocking shades cause they eyes black and blue. Way too many dudes putting hands on the bra. That make you feel like a man, mishandling a weaker vessel, yeah you saw. Yo, look, it's way too many dudes only wanna spar. But ain't got no conversation, only wanna gossip or recall. Why I keep seeing these grown dudes, I got a broad daily like some broad. Why I keep seeing these dudes, letting these girls fighting on the stopper to record. These little niggas online, the worst part, lame hoes got a squad. And all they do is just like the females doing interviews with that nigga blog. I be like, come in, big boy, take off them drawers. I just came from shopping, let me slip you into something real soft. You prefer the lace, the satin, or the silk, cause I'm pretty little rose, they gon' hang off your balls. Look at you, sitting pretty, yeah. You the type that rock them cute pennies, yeah. Come here, you cute, yeah. Real cute, you hating on a female, cute, real cute. Why you mad we getting money? Maybe that's why you sag a lot, them punish out. Oh, by the way, cute pennies, bro, real cute. Grown man, big boss, taking shots from a penthouse love. Talking trash, he making big calls. Yep, then again, that's only till his phone got off. Come again, yes, phone got disconnected. But don't worry, he be back online hating in a second. Back at the crib, remember she paid her phone and the rent. Squash a nigga vegetable soft. Now he souped up in my mentions on some vegetable bro. Leaving comment at the comment, you that thirsty, drink vomit. I promise I ain't never seen nobody when had so much time to hate me. Be honest, is you mad at me? Or the fact that I'm grinding? It's a fact that I'm winning, son, I really be shining. Why you pressed on my diamond? You ready to swing on this little bitty girl, so don't tell me I'm lying. Way too many dudes putting hands on the bra. That make you feel like a man, mishandling a weaker vessel, yeah you saw. Yo, look, it's way too many dudes only wanna spar. But ain't got no conversation, only wanna gossip or recall. Why I keep seeing these grown dudes, I got a broad daily like some broad. Why I keep seeing these dudes, letting these girls fighting on the stopper to record. These little niggas online, the worst part, lame hoes got a squad. And all they do is just like the females doing interviews with that nigga blog. I be from shopping. Let me slip you into something real soft. You prefer the lace, satin, or the silk? Cause some pretty little rolls, they gon' hang off your balls. Look at you, sitting pretty, yeah. You the type that rock them cute pennies, yeah. Come here, you cute, yeah. Real cute, you hating on a female, cute, real cute. Why you mad we getting money? Maybe that's why you sag like them bunny shout. Yeah. Oh, by the way, cute pennies, bro, real cute.
It's back to back like I was Stefan. Better yet, I'm Phil Jackson, so don't treat me like the next man. And I'm kind of a real big deal, so don't be out here second guessing. Anyway, I make my pay and live this California lifestyle. Sunshine, loud packs, and chicks that love to get wild. That's how we do it every day. Slipping, sliding through the traffic on a mission for the day. Clearing marks about my way. Really got no time for y'all today. And all the craziness y'all talk, but never get your story straight. See me out here living great. I don't give a fuck about all that hate. And when it comes to kicking game, I give you all that you can take. Trying to do it big, got no complaints. Every morning eating steak. And say I'm wrong for showing out, but I'ma do it anyway. Such a thing ain't nothing, bitch, cause I can do it any day. And it don't matter where I go, I always represent the yay. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm they tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. See me, I'm out here getting it and loving how I live. Best believe if I do something, I'm a stupid do it big. And this hustling is my gig, so don't you ask me what I stand for. Stacking while I'm macking, trying to earn myself a couple Lambos. Yeah, you know them toys for them big boys. Emperor of sorts and all you other players decoys. Meaning you're not the real deal. Keep an appetite for dollars that I never miss a meal. All you suckers need to chill. I'm just trying to stack a meal and pull the baddest bras around and let show they sex appeal. Little bit of Netflix, then we chill. Lose them clothes, keep on them heels. Working like a 9 to 5 and go right back to chasing skrill. I bring that real, never that phony. BS, y'all be stressing, put it down just like an OG. Perform these cookies, take flight. Summer, y'all just out here acting. I'm a boss in real life. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm they tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Keep it more 100 than a C note. Hall of Fame spitting, representing with these pimp quotes. Don't try to front, you know this shit's dope. Question is, will I ever fail? My answer is no. I make this hustling look amazing. Put it down, doper than a blunt of purple hazing. Spicy on the mic, I bring the fire like a Cajun. Scoville's making haters sweat when I be blazing. Leaning to the side, haters everywhere. Yeah, I hear them talking, but they simply wasting air. Can't understand the reason that they stay in my affairs. But I'm major with my movements, getting money everywhere. I'm so in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. Boppers used to hate me, now they tell me I'm they tight now. Swagger through the roof, got everybody on my height now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now. So in love with this lifestyle. And I love it, and I love it. So in love with this lifestyle. Anything I want, I say the word, I get it right now.
I get the feeling. Can't help but feeling. I get the feeling I'm doing me time. And I'm okay on when I'm out at sea. So puffed I had it in the daytime. Promise you'll keep sunshine on my feet. Somebody pinch me, this is juicy, juicy. Squeeze out this
Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Where you from? Who you with? Are you unplugged? Are you equipped? I do my thing, stay legit. In this world, no one's innocent. VIP, get bottles. One snap of my fingertips. See these haters like blah blah blah, blah 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 blah, talking gibberish. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Rolling and rolling and rolling SUV. Rolling and rolling and rolling with my homies. Rolling and rolling and rolling SUV. Rolling and rolling and rolling with my homies. I'm going to live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm going to live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm going to live my best life. Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? Do you live your best life? I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. I'm gonna live my best life. Don't care if my head ain't right. Do you and live your best life. Don't care if my head ain't right.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. All right. So I wanted to do a little shout out. I get an update every week and it tells me about like downloads and listeners and stuff like that. So I wrote down top 6 listeners, and this is by area or country or whatnot. So number 1 is Brazil. Number 2 is the good old US of A. Number 3 is Canada. Number 4 is India. And number 5 is Iraq. Thank you guys for hanging out with me and downloading the shows, and hopefully you enjoy what I'm doing around here. And I don't know, I'm kind of into this new book. I don't know what you think about it. It's different as it's written in 1860 or published in 1860. That's crazy. It's quite some time ago, I would say. All right. Let's get back to it. And I believe this is The Woman in White, isn't it? I know it's the first epic. Yeah, The Woman in White. She seemed about to say more, but while she was speaking, we came within view of the turnpike at the top of the Avenue Road. Her hand tightened round my arm, and she looked anxiously at the gate before us. "Is the turnpike man looking out?" she asked. He was not looking out. No one else was near the place when we passed through the gate. The sight of the gas lamps and houses seemed to agitate her and to make her impatient. "This is London," she said. "Do you see any carriage I can get? I'm tired and frightened. I want to shut myself in and be driven away." I explained to her that we must walk a little further to get a cab stand unless we were fortunate enough to meet with an empty vehicle, and then tried to resume the subject of Cumberland. It was useless. That idea of shutting herself in and being driven away had now got full possession of her mind. She could think and talk of nothing else. We had hardly proceeded a third of the way down the Avenue Road when I saw a cab draw up at a house a few doors below us on the opposite side of the way. A gentleman got out and let himself in at the garden door. I hailed the cab as the driver mounted the box again. When we crossed the road, my companion's impatience increased to such an extent that she almost forced me to run. "It's so late," she said. "I am only in a hurry because it's so late." "I can't take you, sir, if you're not going towards Tottenham Court Road," said the driver civilly, when I opened the cab door. "My horse is dead beat, and I can't get him no further than the stable." Yes, that will do for me. I'm going that way. She spoke with breathless eagerness, and passed by me into the cab. I had assured myself that the man was sober as well as civil before I let her enter the vehicle. And now, when she was seated inside, I entreated her to let me see her set down safely at her destination. No, she said vehemently. "I'm quite safe and quite happy now. If you are a gentleman, remember your promise. Let him drive on till I stop him. Thank you. Oh, thank you. My hand was on the cab door. She caught it in hers, kissed it, and pushed it away. The cab drove off at the same moment. I started into the road with some vague idea of stopping it again. I hardly knew why. Hesitated from dread of frightening and distressing her. Called at last, but not loudly enough to attract the driver's attention. The sound of the wheels grew fainter in the distance. The cab melted into the black shadows on the road. The woman in white was gone. 10 minutes or more had passed. I was still on the same side of the way, now mechanically walking forward a few paces, now stopping again absently. At one moment I found myself doubting the reality of my own adventure. At another I was perplexed and distressed by an uneasy sense of having done wrong, which yet left me confusedly ignorant of how I could have done right. I hardly knew where I was going or what I meant to do next. I was conscious of nothing but the confusion of my own thoughts when I was abruptly recalled to myself, awakened, I might almost say, by the sound of rapidly approaching wheels close behind me. I was on the dark side of the road in the thick shadow of some garden trees when I stopped to look around. On the opposite and lighter side of the way, a short distance below me, a policeman was strolling along in the direction of the Regent's Park. The carriage passed me, an open chaise driven by 2 men. "Stop!" cried one. "There's a policeman. Let's ask him." The horse was instantly pulled up a few yards beyond the dark place where I stood. "Policeman," cried the first speaker, "have you seen a woman pass this way?" "What sort of woman, sir?" "A woman in a lavender-colored gown." No, interposed the second man. "The clothes we gave her were found on her bed. She must have gone away in clothes she wore when she came to us, in white, policeman. A woman in white." "I haven't seen her, sir." "If you or any of your men meet with the woman, stop her and send her in careful keeping to that address. I'll pay all expenses and a fair reward into the bargain." The policeman looked at the card that was handed down to him. "Why are we to stop her, sir? What has she done?" "Done? She has escaped from my asylum. Don't forget, a woman in white. Drive on." 5. She has escaped from my asylum. I cannot say with truth that the terrible inference which those words suggested flashed upon me like a new revelation. Some of the strange questions put to me by the woman in white, after my ill-considered promise to leave her free to act as she pleased, had suggested the conclusion either that she was naturally flighty and unsettled, or that some recent shock of terror had disturbed the balance of her faculties. But the idea of absolute insanity, which we all associate with the very name of an asylum, had, I can honestly declare, never occurred to me in connection with her. I had seen nothing in her language or her actions to justify it at the time, and even with the new light thrown on her by the words which the stranger had addressed to the policeman, I could see nothing to justify it now. What had I done? Assisted the victim of the most horrible of all false imprisonments to escape, or cast loose on the wide world of London an unfortunate creature whose actions it was my duty and every man's duty mercifully to control? I turned sick at heart when the question occurred to me, and when I felt self-reproachfully that it was asked too late. In the disturbed state of my mind, it is useless to think of going to bed, when I at last got back to my chambers in Clement's Inn. Before many hours elapsed, it would be necessary to start on my journey to Cumberland. I sat down and tried, first to sketch, then to read, but the woman in white got between me and my pencil, between me and my book. Had the forlorn creature come to any harm? That was my first thought. Though I shrank selfishly from confronting it, other thoughts followed on which it was less harrowing to dwell. Where had she stopped the cab? What had become of her now? Had she been traced and captured by the men in the chase? Or was she still capable of controlling her own actions? And were we two following our widely parted roads towards one point in the mysterious future, at which we were to meet once more? It was a relief when the hour came to lock my door, to bid farewell to London pursuits, London pupils, and London friends, and to be in movement again towards new interests and new life. Even the bustle and confusion at the railway terminus, so wearisome and bewildering at other times, roused me and did me good. My traveling instructions directed me to go to Carlisle, and then to diverge by a branch railway which ran in the direction of the coast. Excuse me. As a misfortune to begin with, our engine broke down between Lancaster and Carlisle. The delay occasioned by this accident caused me to be too late for the branch train, by which I was to have gone on immediately. I had to wait for some hours, and when a later train finally deposited me at the nearest station to Limmeridge House, it was past 10, and the night was so dark that I could hardly see my way to the pony chaise, which Mr. Fairley had ordered to be in waiting for me. The driver was evidently discomposed by the lateness of my arrival. He was in that state of highly respectful sulkiness which is peculiar to English servants. We drove away slowly through the darkness in perfect silence. The roads were bad, and the dense obscurity of the night increased the difficulty of getting over the ground quickly. It was, by my watch, nearly an hour and a half from the time of our leaving the station before I heard the sound of the sea in the distance, and the crunch of our wheels on a smooth gravel drive. We had passed one gate before entering the drive, and we passed another before we drew up to the house. I was received by a solemn man-servant out of livery, was informed that the family had retired for the night, and was then led into a large and lofty room where my supper was awaiting me, in a forlorn manner, at one extremity of a lonesome mahogany wilderness of dining table. I was too tired and out of spirits to eat or drink much, especially with the solemn servant waiting on me as elaborately as if a small dinner party had arrived at the house instead of a solitary man. In a quarter of an hour I was ready to be taken up to my bedchamber. The solemn servant conducted me into a prettily furnished room, said, "Breakfast at 9 o'clock, sir," looked all around him to see that everything was in its proper place, and noiselessly withdrew. What shall I see in my dreams tonight? I thought to myself as I put out the candle. The woman in white, or the unknown inhabitants of this Cumberland mansion? It was a strange sensation to be sleeping in the house, like a friend of the family, and yet not to know one of the inmates, even by sight. 6. When I rose the next morning and drew up my blind, the sea opened before me joyously under the broad August sunlight, and the distant coast of Scotland fringed the horizon with its lines of melting blue. The view was such a surprise and such a change to me after my weary London experience of brick-and-mortar landscape, that I seemed to burst into a new life and a new set of thoughts the moment I looked at it. A confused sensation of having suddenly lost my familiarity with the past without acquiring any additional clearness of idea in reference to the present or the future took possession of my mind. Circumstances that were but a few days old faded back in my memory, as if they had happened months and months since. Pesca's quaint announcements of the means by which he had procured me my present employment, the farewell evening I had passed with my mother and sister, even my mysterious adventure on the way home from Hampstead, had all become like events which might have occurred at some former epoch of my existence. Although the woman in white was still in my mind, the image of her seemed to have grown dull and faint already. A little before 9 o'clock I descended to the ground floor of the house. The solemn manservant of the night before met me wandering among the passages, and compassionately showed me the way to the breakfast room. My first glance round me as the man opened the door disclosed a well-furnished breakfast table standing in the middle of a long room with many windows in it. I looked from the table to the window farthest from me and saw a lady standing at it, with her back turned towards me. The instant my eyes rested on her, I was struck by the rare beauty of her form and by the unaffected grace of her attitude. Her figure was tall, yet not too tall, comely and well-developed, yet not fat, her head set on her shoulders with an easy, pliant firmness. Her waist, perfection in the eyes of a man, for it occupied its natural place. It filled out its natural circle. It was visibly and delightfully underformed by stays. She had not heard my entrance into the room, and I allowed myself the luxury of admiring her for a few moments before I moved one of the chairs near me, as the least embarrassing means of attracting her attention. She turned towards me immediately. The easy elegance of every movement of her limbs and body as soon as she began to advance from the far end of the room set me in a flutter of expectation to see her face clearly. She left the window and said to myself, "The lady is dark." She moved forward a few steps, and I said to myself, "The lady is young." She approached nearer, and I said to myself, with a sense of surprise which words fail me to express, "The lady is ugly." Never was the old conventional maxim that nature cannot err more flatly contradicted. Never was the fair promise of a lovely figure more strangely and startlingly belied by the face and head that crowned it. The lady's complexion was almost swarthy, and the dark down on her upper lip was almost a mustache. She had a large, firm, masculine mouth and jaw, prominent, piercing, resolute brown eyes, and thick coal-black hair growing unusually low down on her forehead. Her expression, bright, frank, and intelligent, appeared, while she was silent, to be altogether wanting in those feminine attractions of gentleness and pliability, without which the beauty of the handsomest woman alive is beauty incomplete. To see such a face as this set on shoulders that a sculptor would have longed to model, to be charmed by the modest graces of action through which the symmetrical limbs betrayed their beauty when they moved, and then to be almost repelled by the masculine form and masculine look of the features in which the perfectly shaped figure ended, was to feel a sensation oddly akin to the helpless discomfort familiar to us all in sleep, when we recognize yet cannot reconcile the anomalies and contradictions of a dream. "Mr. Hartright," said the lady interrogatively, her dark face lighting up with a smile and softening the growing womanly the moment she began to speak. "We resigned all hope of you last night and went to bed as usual. Accept my apologies for our apparent want of attention, and allow me to introduce myself as one of your pupils. Shall we shake hands? I suppose we must come to it sooner or later, and why not sooner?" These odd words of welcome were spoken in a clear, ringing, pleasant voice, and offered hand, rather large but beautifully formed, was given to me with the easy, unaffected self-reliance of a highly bred woman. We sat down together at the breakfast table in as cordial and customary a manner as if we had known each other for years, and had met at Limmeridge House to talk over old times by previous appointment. "I hope you come here good-humoredly, determined to make the best of your position," continued the lady. "You will have to begin this morning by putting up with no other company at breakfast than mine. My sister is in her own room, nursing that essentially feminine malady, a slight headache, and her old governess, Mrs. Vesey, is charitably attending on her with restorative tea. My uncle, Mr. Fairley, never joins us at any of our meals. He is an invalid and keeps bachelor state in his own apartments. There is nobody else in the house but me. 2 young ladies have been staying here, but they went away yesterday in despair, and no wonder. All through their visit, in consequence of Mr. Fairley's invalid condition, we produced no such convenience in the house as a flirtable, danceable, small-talkable feature of the male sex, and the consequence was we did nothing but quarrel, especially at dinner-time. How can you expect 4 women to dine together alone every day and not quarrel? We are such fools. We can't entertain each other at table. You see, I don't think much of my own sex, Mr. Hartright. Which will you have, tea or coffee?" No woman does think much of her own sex, although few of them confess it as freely as I do. Dear me, you look puzzled. Why? Are you wondering what you will have for breakfast, or are you surprised at my careless way of talking? In the first place, I advise you as a friend to have nothing to do with a cold ham at your elbow, and to wait till the omelette comes in. In the second case, I will have you some tea to compose your spirits, and do all a woman can, which is very little, by the by, to hold my tongue." She handed me my cup of tea, laughing gaily. Her light flow of talk and her lively familiarity of manner with the total stranger were accompanied by an unaffected naturalness and an easy inborn confidence in herself and her position, which would have secured her the respect of the most audacious man breathing. Why, it was impossible to be formal and reserved in her company. It was more than impossible to take the faintest vestige of a liberty with her, even in thought. I felt this instinctively, even while I caught the infection of her own bright gaiety of spirits, even while I did my best to answer in her own frank, lively way. "Yes, yes," she said, when I had suggested the only explanation I could offer to account for my perplexed looks. I understand you are such a perfect stranger in the house that you are puzzled by my familiar references to the worthy inhabitants. Natural enough, I ought to have thought of it before. At any rate, I can set it right now. Suppose I begin with myself, so as to get done with that part of the subject as soon as possible. My name is Marian Halcombe, and I am as inaccurate as women usually are in calling Mr. Fairley my uncle, and Miss Fairley my sister. My mother was twice married, the first time to Mr. Halcombe, my father, the second time to Mr. Fairley, my half-sister's father, except that we are both orphans. We are in every respect as unlike each other as possible. My father was a poor man, and Miss Fairley's father was a rich man. I have got nothing, and she has a fortune. I am dark and ugly, and she is fair and pretty. Everybody thinks me crabbed and odd, with perfect justice, and everybody thinks her sweet-tempered and charming, with more justice still. In short, she's an angel, and I am. Try some of that marmalade, Mr. Hartright, and finish the sentence in the name of female propriety for yourself. What am I to tell you about Mr. Fairley? Upon my honor, I hardly know. He is sure to send for you after breakfast, and you can study him for yourself. In the meantime, I may inform you first that he is the late Mr. Fairley's younger brother. Secondly, that he is a single man, and thirdly, that he is Miss Fairley's guardian. I won't live without her, and she can't live without me, and that is how I come to be at Limmeridge House. My sister and I are honestly fond of each other, which you will say is perfectly unaccountable under the circumstances, and I quite agree with you, but so it is. You must please both of us, Mr. Hartright, or please neither of us. And what is still more trying, you will be thrown entirely upon our society. Mrs. Vesey is an excellent person who possesses all the cardinal virtues and counts for nothing, and Mr. Fairley is too great an invalid to be a companion for anybody. I don't know what is the matter with him, and the doctors don't know what is the matter with him, and he doesn't know himself what is the matter with him. We all say it's on the nerves, and we none of us know what we mean when we say it. However, I advise you to humor his little peculiarities when you see him day to day. Admire his collection of coins, prints, and watercolor drawings, and you will win his heart. Upon my word, if you can be contented with a quiet country life, I don't see why you should not get on very well here. From breakfast to lunch, Mr. Fairley's drawings will occupy you. After lunch, Miss Fairley and I shoulder our sketchbooks and go out to misrepresent nature under your directions. Drawing is her favorite whim, mind, not mine. Women can't draw. Their minds are too flighty and their eyes are too inattentive. No matter, my sister likes it, so I waste paint and spoil paper for her sake as composedly as any woman in England. As for the evenings, I think we can help you through them. Miss Fairley plays delightfully. For my own poor part, I don't know one note of music from the other, but I can match you at chess, backgammon, écarté, and, with the inevitable female drawbacks, even at billiards as well. What do you think of the program? Can you reconcile yourself to our quiet, regular life, or do you mean to be restless and secretly thirst for change and adventure in the humdrum atmosphere of Limmeridge House? She had run on thus far in her graceful bantering way, with no other interruptions on my part than the unimportant replies which politeness required of me. The turn of the expression, however, in her last question, or rather the one chance word, adventure, lightly as it fell from her lips, recalled my thoughts to my meeting with the woman in white, and urged me to discover the connection which the stranger's own reference to Mrs. Fairley informed me must once have existed between the nameless fugitive from the asylum and the former mistress of Limmeridge House. Even if I were the most restless of mankind, I said, I should be in no danger of thirsting after adventures for some time to come. The very night before I arrived at this house, I met with an adventure, and the wonder and excitement of it, I can assure you, Mrs. Halcombe, or Miss Halcombe, will last me for the whole term of my stay in Cumberland, if not for a much longer period. You don't say so, Mr. Hartright. May I hear it? You have a claim to hear it. The chief person in the adventure was a total stranger to me. He may perhaps be a total stranger to you, but she certainly mentioned the name of the late Mrs. Fairley in terms of the sincerest gratitude and regard. Mentioned my mother's name? You interest me indescribably. Pray go on. I had once related the circumstances under which I had met the woman in white, exactly as they had occurred, and I repeated what she had said to me about Mrs. Fairley in Limmeridge House, word for word. Miss Halcombe's bright, resolute eyes looked eagerly into mine, from the beginning of the narrative to the end. Her face expressed vivid interest and astonishment, but nothing more. She was evidently as far from knowing of any clue to the mystery as I was myself. Are you quite sure of those words referring to my mother? She asked. Quite sure, I replied. Whoever she may be, the woman was once at school in the village of Limmeridge, was treated with special kindness by Mrs. Fairley, and in grateful remembrance of that kindness, feels an affectionate interest in all surviving members of the family. She knew that Mrs. Fairley and her husband were both dead, and she spoke of Miss Fairley as if they had known each other when they were children. You said, I think, that she denied belonging to this place? Yes, she told me she came from Hampshire. Are you entirely failed to find out her name? Entirely. Very strange. I think you were quite justified, Mr. Hartright, in giving the poor creature her liberty, for she seems to have done nothing in your presence to show herself unfit to enjoy it. But I wish you had been a little more resolute about finding out her name. We must really clear up this mystery in some way. You had better not speak of it yet to Mr. Fairley or to my sister. They are both of them, I am certain, quite as ignorant as who the woman is and of what her past history and connection with us can be, as I am myself, but they are also in widely different ways rather nervous and sensitive, and you would only fidget one and alarm the other to no purpose. As for myself, I am all aflame with curiosity, and I devote my whole energies to the business of discovery from this moment. When my mother came here after her second marriage, she certainly established the village school just as it exists at the present time. But the old teachers are all dead or gone elsewhere, and no enlightenment is to be hoped for from that quarter. The only other alternative I can think of. At this point we were interrupted by the entrance of the servant, with a message from Mr. Fairley, intimating that he would be glad to see me as soon as I had done breakfast. Wait in the hall, said Miss Halcombe, answering the servant for me in her quick, ready way. Mr. Hartright will come out directly. I was about to say, she went on, addressing me again, that my sister and I have a large collection of my mother's letters addressed to my father and to hers. In the absence of any other means of getting information, I will pass the morning in looking over my mother's correspondence with Mr. Fairley. He was fond of London and was constantly away from his country home, and she was accustomed to such times to write the report to him how things went on at Limmeridge. Her letters were full of references to the school in which she took so strong an interest, and I think it more than likely that I may be discovered something when we meet again. The luncheon hour is 2, Mr. Hartright. I shall have the pleasure of introducing you to my sister by that time, and we will occupy the afternoon in driving round the neighborhood and showing you all our pet points of view. Till 2 o'clock, then. Farewell. She nodded to me with a lively grace and delightful refinement of familiarity which characterized all that she did and all that she said, and disappeared by a door at the lower end of the room as soon as she had left me. I turned my steps towards the hall and followed the servant on my way, for the first time, to the presence of Mr. Fairley. Let's see what time it is. Yeah, we can read a bit more. 7. My conductor led me upstairs into a passage which took us back to the bedchamber in which I had slept during the past night, and opening the door next to it, begged me to look in. I have my master's orders to show you your own sitting room, sir, said the man, and to inquire if you approve of the situation and the light. I must have been hard to please indeed if I had not approved of the room and if everything about it. The bow window looked out. It's probably bow, but it's spelled like bow. I'm going to say bow. The bow window looked out on the same lovely view which I had admired in the morning from my bedroom. The furniture was the perfection of luxury and beauty. The table in the center was bright with gaily bound books, elegant conveniences for writing, and beautiful flowers. The second table near the window was covered with all the necessary materials for mounting watercolor drawings, and had a little easel attached to it which I could expand or fold up at will. The walls were hung with gaily tinted chintz, and the floor was spread with Indian matting in maize color and red. It was the prettiest and the most luxurious little sitting room I had ever seen, and I admired it with the warmest enthusiasm. The solemn servant was far too highly trained to betray the slightest satisfaction. He bowed with icy deference when my terms of eulogy were all exhausted, and silently opened the door for me to go out onto the passage again. We turned a corner and entered a long second passage, ascended a short flight of stairs at the end, crossed a small circular upper hall, and stopped in front of a door covered with dark baize. The servant opened this door and led me on a few yards to a second, opened that also, and disclosed 2 curtains of pale sea-green silk hanging before us. Raised one of them noiselessly, softly uttered the words, "Mr. Hartright," and left me. I found myself in a large, lofty room with a magnificent carved ceiling and with a carpet over the floor, so thick and soft that it felt like piles of velvet under my feet. One side of the room was occupied by a long bookcase of some rare inlaid wood that was quite new to me. It was not more than 6 feet high, and the top was adorned with statuettes in marble, ranged at regular distances one from the other. On the opposite side stood 2 antique cabinets, and between them and above them hung a picture of the Virgin and Child, protected by glass, and bearing Raphael's name on the gilt tablet at the bottom of the frame. On my right hand and on my left, as I stood inside the door, were chiffoniers and little stands in buhl and marquetry, loaded with figures in Dresden china with rare vases, ivory ornaments, and toys and curiosities that sparkled at all points with gold, silver, and precious stones. At the lower end of the room, opposite to me, the windows were concealed, and the sunlight was tempered by large blinds of the same pale sea-green color as the curtains over the door. The light thus produced was deliciously soft, mysterious, and subdued. It fell equally upon all the objects in the room. It helped to intensify the deep silence and the air of profound seclusion that possessed the place, and it surrounded with an appropriate halo of repose the solitary figure of the master of the house. Leaning back, listlessly composed in a large easy chair with a reading easel fastened on one of its arms and a little table on the other. If a man's personal appearance when he is out of his dressing room and when he has passed 40 can be accepted as a safe guide to his time of life, which is more than doubtful, Mr. Fairley's age when I saw him might have been reasonably computed at over 50 and under 60 years old. His beardless face was thin, worn, and transparently pale, but not wrinkled. His nose was high and hooked, his eyes were of a dim grayish blue, large, prominent, and rather red round the rims of the eyelids. His hair was scanty, soft to look at, and that light sandy color, which is the last to disclose its own changes towards gray. He was dressed in a dark frock coat of some substance, much thinner than cloth, and in waistcoat and trousers of spotless white. His feet were effeminately small and were clad in buff-colored silk stockings and little womanish bronze leather slippers. 2 rings adorned his white delicate hands, the value of which even my inexperienced observation detected to be all but priceless. Upon the whole, he had a frail, languidly fretful, over-refined look, something singularly and unpleasantly delicate in its association with a man, and at the same time something which could by no possibility have looked natural and appropriate if it had been transferred to the personal appearance of a woman. My morning's experience of Miss Halcombe had predisposed me to be pleased with everybody in the house, but my sympathies shut themselves up resolutely at the first sight of Mr. Fairley. On approaching nearer him, I discovered that he was not so entirely without occupation, and as I had at first supposed. Placed amid the other rare and beautiful objects in a large round table near him was a dwarf cabinet in ebony and silver, containing coins of all shapes and sizes set out in little drawers lined with dark purple velvet. One of these drawers lay in the small table attached to his chair, and near it were some tiny jeweler's brushes, a washed leather stump, and a little bottle of liquid, all waiting to be used in various ways for the removal of any accidental impurities which might be discovered on the coins. His frail white fingers were listlessly toying with something which looked to my unconstructed eyes like a dirty pewter metal with ragged edges, when I advanced within a respectful distance of his chair and stopped to make my bow. All right, I believe it's time for break. Could it be time for music break? Yes, it is. All right, so on this break, once again, we have Miss Tamara Bubble from the greater New York area, and she will be singing. I'm almost there. I'm a natural born winner. I almost said killer. And then Griff from Toronto, Canada with Let Freedom Ring. And Tamara's also going to be singing Pringles. Griff is going to be singing Zoo. And then we have Prime Example featuring Miss Carolyn Giles with Dancing Machine. And they are from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I believe. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this music break.
Okay, yo, here's the scoop. You can still be a slave, you're whipped and loop. That's the truth. got big houses, nice cars, that's real cute, but that doesn't mean nothing, you ain't free to choose. When I say free to choose, no alarm clock, don't gotta hit the snooze. The world is backwards, I'm so confused. They say freedom of speech, but when you speak your mind, they blow a fuse. Just being honest, common sense and common, it's kind of ironic. My freedom, I recently bought it, now I'm a target. If I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, come on man, let freedom ring. Yeah. United States become divided states. The world is filled with all kinds of shades, and still resegregate. Parents separate from the children, that's not okay. We should be free to laugh and play. Do it now, before you pass away. Fight for what's right, enough for everybody to get a piece of the pie. Brainwash, social media, full of lies. Go to work, pay bills, then you die. Need a breakaway, guns, get rid of the AKs. Our ancestors paved way since the slave days, but we still hurting. Carry that burden. Stop playing victim, beat the system. Love is love, it should be shown. Can't grow unless you leave your comfort zone. This I know, I learned all this from the mentorship. Kids don't know what independent is. Take advantage what your parents did. Go against the grid, you have to. Like going to the bathroom, learn the right songs. Cause of Matthew, liberty like statue. They call now the present, cause it's a gift. It should be cherished, last name fearless, not Harris. All thanks to my parents' parents. Now, love the last name every time that I hear it, cause I know what it represents. Climb the fence, so now I got freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing. Freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing.
Just make hits. You won't do all that posting, naked pics for likes, and I ain't make this up. I can't fake this. Seeing and loving and feeling and breathing it. Saying it, breathing it. That's it. Saying it, doing it, running it, being lit. I'm a natural born winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm a lover and a fighter and a giver and a pleasure and pain and boss deliver it out. Yeah, I make this look real easy. Everybody hate Chris, but I'ma win like breezy. But I started later on the way to the top and can't stop, so don't push not one button on this elevator. They try to push my buttons to start levitating, rise above it all. I can tell that you fake when you're shaking my hand, and the smile on your face shows me even you're greeting and meeting and love is hating. I'm actually amazing, but modestly saying I ain't waiting for co-songs or playlists, cause I ain't nowhere close to my greatness. I don't do all that boasting, just make hits. Yo, I don't do all that posting, naked pics for likes, and I ain't make this up, I can't fake this. Seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, being lit. I'm a natural born winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm seeing it, loving it, feeling it, breathing it. Saying it, doing it, running it, being lit. I'm a natural born winner. I'm the one that you invite to meet your parents for dinner. Cause I can take a couple L's and I'ma bounce right back. Just so you and all your friends can hit the bounce like that. Cause I'm the one you gon' call when you're lonely. I'm the new girl on the block you gon' show off to your homies. I'm telling you now we gon' vibe in the booth. How you crave another feature like I'm your sweet tooth. All my people wanna see me shine, but I don't pray for you to fall cause I don't play with karma. When I slide through, it's gon' be bad timing. Like, watch out, little homie, watch out. I'm
poppin' like
Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big bank, baby, money grip. I be stacking them chips. Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big bank, baby, money grip. I be stacking them. I ain't never been afraid of a strange beat. New track from the crates, but the same me. Lights on, bills paid, bring the same heat. Couldn't picture me spend the same unless you bring me. Low key, humble brag, never change me. New money coming in, the bank's changing. The quarters to dollars, the checks every hour. That money come in when I sleep or I shower. That's motivation, that dedication. I can see my dreams, I'm already chasing. That bezel clean, watch me embrace it. I'm a single girl, but already taken like a stick-up kid. They already shaking. Old Harlem, Brooklyn, being known for break-ins. Bubble on deck, being known for caking. Stacking and saving that move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. This that, see you laughing but broken money. So get up out the hood, homie. Ain't no rentals over here, dummy. And no, they don't really think that we own it. Who we been poppin', look on. Love the money, but the money live a long time it on. Yeah, them bills, so got the money with my own ground. That move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. Who we been poppin' like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big bank, baby, money grip. I be stacking them chips. Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big bank, baby, money grip. I be stacking them. I ain't never been afraid of investing. I'm talking more than dice games and I'm scratch offs. Lottery jackpots and $100 of millions. So who you think they making money on the backs of? Ain't no gambling today. Ain't no gambling with my money that I built up. Got my money strong and my money long. My money's on. Not one business, but no business. Natural growth, I mean no business. New growth like my natural hair. Yeah, I'm 10 toes down in the show business. Like back up off, man. Ain't no move around, go business. Bring the track up with the tracks out in the booth. Fight steady running your mind, talking this and that. But it's that, move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. This that, see you laughing but broken money. So get up out the hood, homie. Ain't no rentals over here, dummy. And no, they don't really think that we own it. Who we been poppin', look on. Love the money, but the money live a long time it on. Yeah, them bills, so got the money with my own ground. That move up out the hood money. This that, we been eating good money. This that, really wish you would, homie. Who we been poppin' like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Pringles in the whip. I be stacking them chips like Pringles in the can. All the money really got me dancing. Big bank, baby, money grip. I be stacking them chips.
But you can't read, know that you're mad, but you can't read, know that you're mad, but you can't leave.
You can't leave.
You're right where you wanna be. That is right, here with me. You're right where you wanna be.
Right with me.
You can be anything you want, if that's what you really want. You can be anything you want. All I want to do right now is leave it soon.
All I wanna do.
All I want to do right now is leave it soon. For good, I'm wasting time, not trying to lose my mind. Know that I am wasting time, not trying to lose my mind. If you want to get left behind in this rat race, go back to my place where I know it's safe, and lock myself in my room. Won't watch the news, cause it is so confused. What can I do?
if I lose you.
All I want to do right now is leave this.
All I wanna do.
All I want to do right now is leave this for good.
Okay. She was a loompa loompa, now her body's super duper. Getting a lot of attention she was never used to. Hitting me up like I was Uber. Got a few miles, so I guess she's a cougar. Real winner, never seen her with a loser. Gorilla talk, ooga booga booga. Scuba, tuba, diver, I'm a rider. Getting cider, sweet like cider. Fighter, fighter, rider. Neither wants to get it going. Know it, hold it. Fold it, blow it, wait, I'm joking. Cages broken from these beasts. From down east, on the streets, it's a zoo.
All I want to do right now is leave this.
All I wanna do.
All I want to do right now is leave this for good.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. All right, let's get back into it. All right, I think I'm in the right place. We'll see. So glad to possess you at Limmeridge, Mr. Hartright, he said in a querulous, croaking voice which combined in anything but an agreeable manner a discordantly high tone with a drowsily languid utterance. Pray, sit down. And don't trouble yourself to move the chair, please. In the wretched state of my nerves, movement of any kind is exquisitely painful to me. Have you seen your studio? Will it do? I have just come from seeing the room, Mr. Fairley, and I assure you... He stopped me in the middle of the sentence by closing his eyes and holding up one of his white hands, imploringly. I paused in astonishment, and the croaking voice honored me with his explanation. Pray excuse me, but could you contrive to speak in a lower key? In the wretched state of my nerves, loud sound of any kind is indescribable torture to me. You will pardon an invalid. I only say to you that the lamentable state of my health obliges me to say to everybody, yes, and you really like the room? I could wish for nothing prettier and nothing more comfortable, I answered, dropping my voice and beginning to discover already that Mr. Fairley's selfish affectation and Mr. Fairley's wretched nerves meant one and the same. So glad you will find your position here, Mr. Hartright, properly recognized. There is none of the horrid English barbarity of feeling about the social position of an artist in this house. So much of my early life has been passed abroad, and I have quite cast my insular skin in that respect. I wish I could say the same of the gentry, detestable word, but I suppose I must use it. If the gentry in the neighborhood... They are sad Goths in art, Mr. Hartright, people, I do assure you, who would have opened their eyes in astonishment if they had seen Charles V pick up Titian's brush for him. Do you mind putting this tray of coins back in the cabinet and give me the next one to it? In the wretched state of my nerves, exertion of any kind is unspeakably agreeable to me. Yes, thank you. As a practical commentary on the liberal social theory which he had just favored me by illustrating, Mr. Fairley's cool request rather amused me. I put back one drawer and gave him the other, with all possible politeness. He began trifling with the new set of coins and little brushes immediately, languidly looking at them and admiring them all the time he was speaking to me. 1,000 thanks and 1,000 excuses. Do you like coins? Yes, so glad we have another taste in common besides our taste for art. Now about the pecuniary arrangements between us. Do tell me. Are they satisfactory? Most satisfactory, Mr. Fairley. So glad, and what next? I remember, yes, in reference to the consideration which you are good enough to accept for giving me benefit of your accomplishments in art. My steward will wait on you at the end of the first week to ascertain your wishes. And what next? Curious, is it not? I had a great deal more to say, and I appear to have quite forgotten it. Do you mind touching the bell in that corner? Yes, thank you. I rang, and a new servant noiselessly made his appearance, a foreigner, with a set smile and perfectly brushed hair, a valet every inch of him. Louise, said Mr. Fairley, dreamily dusting the tips of his fingers with one of the tiny brushes for the coins. I made some entries in my tablets this morning. Find my tablets. 1,000 pardons, Mr. Hartright. I'm afraid I bore you. As he warily closed his eyes again before I could answer, and as he did most assuredly bore me, I sat silent and looked up at the Madonna and Child by Raphael. In the meantime, the valet left the room and returned shortly with a little ivory book. Mr. Fairley, after first relieving himself by a gentle sigh, let the book drop open with one hand and held up the tiny brush with the other, as a sign to the servant to wait for further orders. Yes, just so, said Mr. Farley, consulting the tablets. Louis, take down that portfolio. He pointed as he spoke to several portfolios placed near the window in mahogany stands. No, not the one with the green back. That contains my Rembrandt etchings. Mr. Hartright, do you like etchings? Yes, so glad we have another taste in common. The portfolio with the red back, Louis. Don't drop it. You have no idea of the tortures I should suffer, Mr. Hartright, if Louis dropped that portfolio. Is it safe on the chair? Do you think it safe, Mr. Hartright? Yes, so glad. Will you oblige me by looking at the drawings if you really think they are quite safe? Louis, go away. What an ass you are. Don't you see me holding the tablets? Do you suppose I want to hold them? Then why not relieve me of the tablets without being told? 1,000 pardons, Mr. Hartright. Servants are such asses, are they not? Do tell me, what do you think of the drawings? They have come from a cell in the shocking state. I thought they smelt of horrid dealers' and brokers' fingers when I looked at them last. Can you undertake them? Although my nerves were not delicate enough to detect the odor of plebeian fingers which had offended Mr. Fairley's nostrils, my taste was sufficiently educated to enable me to appreciate the value of the drawings while I turned them over. They were for the most part really fine specimens of English watercolor art, and they had deserved much better treatment at the hands of their former processor than they appeared to have received. The drawings, I answered, require careful straining and mounting, and in my opinion they are well worth— I beg your pardon, interposed Mr. Fairley. Do you mind my closing my eyes while you speak? Even this light is too much for them, yes? I was about to say that the drawings are well worth all the time and trouble. Mr. Fairley suddenly opened his eyes again and rolled them with an expression of helpless alarm in the direction of the window. I entreat you to excuse me, Mr. Hartright, he said in a feeble flutter. Surely I hear some horrid children in the garden. My private garden below? I can't say, Mr. Fairley. I heard nothing myself. Oblige me, you have been so very good in humoring my poor nerves. Oblige me by lifting up a corner of the blind. Don't let the sun in on me, Mr. Hartright. Have you got the blind up? Yes. Then will you be so very kind as to look into the garden and make quite sure? I complied with this new request. The garden was carefully walled in all round. Not a human creature, large or small, appeared in any part of the sacred seclusion. I reported that gratifying fact to Mr. Fairley. "A thousand thanks. My fancy, I suppose. There are no children, thank heaven, in the house, but the servants, persons born without nerves, will encourage the children from the village. Such brats, oh dear me, such brats. Shall I confess it, Mr. Hartright? I sadly want a reform in the construction of children. Nature's only idea seems to be to make them machines for the production of incessant noise. Surely our delightful Raffaello's conception is infinitely preferable?" He pointed to the picture of the Madonna, the upper part of which represented the conventional cherubs of Italian art, celestially provided with sitting accommodation for their chins on balloons of buff-colored cloud. "Quite a model family," said Fairley, leering at the cherubs. "Such nice round faces, and such nice soft wings, and nothing else. No dirty little legs to run about on, and no noisy little lungs to scream with. How immeasurably superior to the existing construction. I will close my eyes again, if you will allow me, and you really can manage the drawings. So glad. Is there anything else to settle? If there is, I think I have forgotten it. Shall we ring for Lewis again?" Being by this time quite as anxious on my side as Mr. Fairley evidently was on his to bring the interview to a speedy conclusion, I thought I would try to render the summoning of the servant unnecessary by offering the requisite suggestion on my own responsibility. "The only point, Mr. Fairley, that remains to be discussed," I said, "refers, I think, to the instruction on sketching which I am engaged to communicate to the two young ladies." "Ah, just so," said Mr. Fairley. "I wish I felt strong enough to go into that part of the arrangement, but I don't. The ladies who profit by your kind services, Mr. Hartright, must settle and decide and so on for themselves. My niece is fond of your charming art. She knows just enough about it to be conscious of her own sad defects. Please take pains with her, yes? Is there anything else? No? We quite understand each other, don't we? I have no right to detain you any longer from your delightful pursuit, have I? So pleasant to have settled everything. Such a sensible relief to have done business. Do you mind ringing for Lewis to carry the portfolio to your own room?" "I will carry it there myself, Mr. Fairley, if you will allow me." "Will you really? Are you strong enough? How nice to be so strong. Are you sure you won't drop it? So glad to possess you at Limmeridge, Mr. Hartright. I am such a sufferer that I hardly dare hope to enjoy much of your society. Would you mind taking great pains not to let the doors bang and not to drop the portfolio? Thank you. Gently with the curtains, please. The slightest noise from them goes through me like a knife. Yes. Good morning." When the sea-green curtains were closed and when the two baize doors were shut behind me, I stopped for a moment in the little circular hall beyond and drew a long, luxurious breath of relief. It was like coming to the surface of the water after deep diving, to find myself once more on the outside of Mr. Fairley's room. As soon as I was comfortably established for the morning in my pretty little studio, the first resolution at which I arrived was to turn my steps no more in the direction of the apartments occupied by the master of the house, except in the very improbable event of his honoring me with a special invitation to pay him another visit. Having settled this with satisfactory plan of future conduct in reference to Mr. Fairley, I soon recovered the serenity of temper of which my employer's haughty familiarity and impudent politeness had for the moment deprived me. The remaining hours of the morning passed away pleasantly enough in looking over the drawings, arranging them in sets, trimming their ragged edges, and accomplishing the other necessary preparations in anticipation of the business of mounting them. I ought perhaps to have made more progress than this, but as the luncheon time drew near, oh my gosh. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize that we didn't have our background music. Felt like something was missing. All right. Let's see, where were we? At 2 o'clock, I descended again to the breakfast room a little anxiously. Expectations of some interest were connected with my approaching reappearance in that part of the house. My introduction to Miss Fairley was now close at hand, and if Miss Halcombe's search through her mother's letters had produced the result which she anticipated, the time had come for clearing up the mystery of the woman in white. When I entered the room, I found Miss Halcombe and an elderly lady seated at the luncheon table. The elderly lady, when I was presented to her, proved to be Miss Fairley's former governess, Mrs. Vesey, who had been briefly described to me by my lively companion at the breakfast table as possessed of all the cardinal virtues and counting for nothing. I can do little more than offer my humble testimony to the truthfulness of Miss Halcombe's sketch of the old lady's character. Mrs. Vesey looked the personification of human composure and female amiability. A calm enjoyment of a calm existence beamed in drowsy smiles on her plump, placid face. Some of us rush through life, and some of us saunter through life. Mrs. Vesey sat through life. Sat in the house, early and late, sat in the garden, sat in unexpected window seats and passages, sat on a camp stool when her friends tried to take her out walking, sat before she looked at anything, before she walked of anything, before she answered yes or no to the commonest question, always with the same serene smile on her lips, the same vacantly attentive turn of the head, the same snugly comfortable position of her hands and arms, under every possible change of domestic circumstances. A mild, a compliant, and utterly tranquil and harmless old lady who never by any chance suggested the idea that she had been actually alive since the hour of her birth. Nature has so much to do in this world and is engaged in generating such a vast variety of coexistent productions. She must surely be now and then too flurried and confused to distinguish between the different processes that she is carrying on at the same time. Starting from this point of view, it will always remain my private persuasion that nature was absorbed in making cabbages when Mrs. Vesey was born, and that the good old lady suffered the consequences of a vegetable preoccupation in the mind of the mother of us all. "Now, Mrs. Vesey," said Miss Halcombe, looking brighter, sharper, and readier than ever, by contrast with the undemonstrative old lady at her side, "what will you have? A cutlet?" Mrs. Vesey crossed her dimpled hands on the edge of the table, smiled placidly, and said, "Yes, dear." "What is that opposite Mr. Hartwright? Boiled chicken, is it not? I thought you liked boiled chicken better than cutlets, Mrs. Vesey." Mrs. Vesey took her dimpled hands off the edge of the table and crossed them on her lap instead, nodded contemptuously contemplatively at the boiled chicken and said, "Yes, dear." "Well, but which will you have today? Shall Mr. Hartright give you some chicken, or shall I give you some cutlet?" Mrs. Vesey put one of her dimpled hands back again on the edge of the table, hesitated drowsily, and said, "Which you please, dear. Mercy on me, it's a question for your taste, my good lady, not for mine. Suppose you have a little of both, and suppose you begin with the chicken because Mr. Hartright looks devoured by anxiety to carve for you." Mrs. Vesey put the other dimpled hand back on the edge of the table, brightened dimly one moment, went out again the next, bowed obediently, and said, "If you please, sir." Surely a mild, compliant, and unutterably tranquil and harmless old lady, but enough perhaps for the present of Mrs. Vesey. All this time there were no signs of Miss Farley. We finished our luncheon, and still she never appeared. Miss Halcombe, whose quick eye nothing escaped, noticed the looks that I cast from time to time in the direction of the door. "I understand you, Mr. Hartright," she said. "You are wondering what has become of your other pupil. She's been downstairs and has got over her headache, but has not sufficiently recovered her appetite to join us at lunch. If you will put yourself under my charge, I think I can undertake to find her somewhere in the garden." She took up a parasol lying on a chair near her and led the way out by a long window at the bottom of the room, which opened on to the lawn. It is almost unnecessary to say that we left Mrs. Vesey still seated at the table, with her dimpled hands still crossed on the edge of it, apparently settled in that position for the rest of the afternoon. As we crossed the lawn, Miss Halcombe looked at me significantly and shook her head. "That mysterious adventure of yours," she said, "still remains involved in its own appropriate midnight darkness. I have been all the morning looking over my mother's letters, and I have made no discoveries yet. However, don't despair, Mr. Hartright. This is a matter of curiosity, and you have got a woman for your ally. Under such conditions, success is certain, sooner or later. The letters are not exhausted. I have 3 packets still left, and you may confidently rely on my spending the whole evening over them. Here, then, was one of my anticipations of the morning still unfulfilled. I began to wonder next whether my introduction to Miss Fairley would disappoint the expectations that I had been forming of her since breakfast time. "And how did you get on with Mr. Fairley?" inquired Miss Halcombe, as we left the lawn and turned into the shrubbery. "Was he particularly nervous this morning? Never mind considering about your answer, Mr. Hartright. The mere fact of your being obliged to consider is enough for me. I see in your face that he was particularly nervous, and as I am amiably unwilling to throw you into the same condition, I ask no more." We turned off into the winding path while she was speaking, and approached a pretty summer house built of wood, in the form of a miniature Swiss chalet. The one room of the summer house, as we ascended the steps of the door, was occupied by a young lady. She was standing near a rustic table, looking out at the inland view of moor and hill presented by a gap in the trees, and absently turning over the leaves of a little sketch-book that lay on her side. This was Miss Fairley. How can I describe her? How can I separate her from my own sensations and from all that has happened in the later time? How can I see her again as she looked when my eyes first rested on her, as she should look now to the eyes that are about to see her in these pages? The watercolor drawing that I made of Laura Fairley at an after period in the place and attitude in which I first saw her lies on my desk while I write. I look at it, and there dawns upon me brightly from the desk the dark greenish-brown background of the summer house, a light, youthful figure, clothed in a simple muslin dress, the pattern of it formed by broad alternate stripes of delicate blue and white. A scarf of the same material sits crisply and closely round her shoulders, and a little straw hat of the natural color, plainly and sparingly trimmed with ribbon to match the gown, covers her head and throws its soft, curly shadow over the upper part of her face. Her hair is of so faint and pale a brown, not flaxen and yet almost as light, not golden and yet almost as glossy, that it nearly melts here and there into the shadow of the hat. It is plainly parted and drawn back over her ears, and the line of it ripples naturally as it crosses her forehead. The eyebrows are rather darker than the hair, and the eyes are of that soft, limpid turquoise blue, so often sung by poets, so seldom seen in real life. Lovely eyes in color, lovely eyes in form, large and tender and quietly thoughtful, but beautiful above all things in the clear truthfulness of look that dwells in their inmost depths, and shines through all their changes of expression with light of a purer and better world. The charm most gently and yet most distinctly expressed, which they shed over the whole face, so covers and transforms its little natural human blemishes elsewhere, that it is difficult to estimate the relative merits and defects of the other features. It is hard to see that the lower part of the face is too delicately refined away towards the chin to be in full and fair proportion with the upper part, that the nose, in escaping the aquiline bend, always hard and cruel in a woman, no matter how abstractly perfect it may be, has erred a little in the other extreme and has missed the ideal straightness of line, in that the sweet, sensitive lips are subject to a slight nervous contraction when she smiles, which draws them upward a little at one corner towards the cheek. It might be possible to note these blemishes in another woman's face, but it is not easy to dwell on them in hers. So subtly are they connected with all that is individual and characteristic in her expression, and so closely does the expression depend for its full play in life in every other feature on the moving impulse of the eyes. Does my poor portrait of her, my fond, patient labor of long and happy days, show me these things? How few of them are in the dim mechanical drawing, and how many in the mind with which I regard it. A fair, delicate girl in a pretty, light dress, trifling with the leaves of a sketchbook, while she looks up from it with truthful, innocent blue eyes. That is all the drawing can say, all perhaps that even the deeper reach of thought and pen can say in their language, either. The woman who first gives life, light, and form to our shadowy conceptions of beauty fills a void in our spiritual nature that has remained unknown to us till she appeared. Sympathies that lie too deep for words, too deep almost for thoughts, are touched at such times by other charms than those which the senses feel, and which the resources of expression can realize. The mystery which underlies the beauty of woman is never raised above the reach of all expression until it has claimed kindred with the deeper mystery in our own souls. Then, and then only, has it passed beyond the narrow region on which light falls in this world from the pencil and the pen. Think of her as you thought of the first woman who quickened the pulses within you that the rest of her sex had no art to stir. Let the kind, candid blue eyes meet yours as they met mine with the one matchless look which we both remember so well. Let her voice speak the music that you once loved best, attuned as sweetly to your ear as to mine. Her footstep as she comes and goes in these pages be like that other footstep to whose airy fall your own heart once beat. Time. Take her as the visionary nursling of your own fancy, and she will grow upon you, all the more clearly as the living woman who dwells in mine. Among the sensations that crowded on me when my eyes first looked upon her, familiar sensations which we all know, which spring to life in most of our hearts, die again in so many, and renew their bright existence in so few. There was one that troubled and perplexed me, one that seemed strangely inconsistent and unaccountably out of place in Miss Fairley's presence. Mingling with the vivid impression produced by the charm of her fair face and head, her sweet expression and her winning simplicity of manner was another impression, which in a shadowy way suggested to me the idea of something wanting. At one time it seemed like something wanting in her, at another like something wanting in myself, which hindered me from understanding her as I ought. The impression was always strongest in the most contradictory manner when she looked at me, or, in other words, when I was most conscious of the harmony and charm of her face, and yet at the same time most troubled by the sense of an incompleteness which it was impossible to discover. Something wanting, and where it was and what it was I could not say. The effect of this curious caprice of fancy, as I thought it then, was not of a nature to set me at my ease during the first interview with Miss Fairley. The few kind words of welcome which she spoke found me hardly self-possessed enough to thank her in the customary phases of reply. Observing my hesitation and no doubt attributing it, naturally enough, to some momentary shyness on my part, Miss Halcombe took the business of talking as easily and readily as usual into her own hands. "Look there, Mr. Hartright," she said, pointing to the sketchbook on the table and to the little delicate wandering hand that was still trifling with it. "Sure you will acknowledge that your model pupil is found at last. The moment she hears that you are in the house, she seizes her inestimable sketchbook, looks universal nature straight in the face, and longs to begin." Miss Fairley laughed with a ready good humor, which broke out as brightly as if it had been part of the sunshine above us, over her lovely face. "I must not take credit to myself where no credit is due," she said, her clear, truthful blue eyes looking alternately at Miss Halcombe and at me. "Fond as I am of drawing, I am so conscious of my own ignorance that I am more afraid than anxious to begin. Now I know you are here, Mr. Hartright, I find myself looking over my sketches as I used to look over my lessons when I was a little girl, and when I was sadly afraid that I should turn out not fit to be heard." She made the confession very prettily and simply, and with quaint, childish earnestness, drew the sketchbook away close to her own side of the table. Miss Halcombe cut the knot of the little embarrassment forthwith in her resolute, downright way. "Good, bad, or indifferent," she said, "the pupil's sketches must pass through the fiery ordeal of the master's judgment. And there's an end of it. Suppose we take them with us in the carriage, Laura, and let Mr. Hartright see them." For the first time, under circumstances of perpetual jolting and interruption, if we can only confuse him all through the drive between nature as it is, when he looks up at the view, and nature as it is not when he looks down at our sketchbooks, we shall drive him into the last desperate refuge of paying us compliments and shall slip through his professional fingers with our pet feathers of vanity all unruffled. I hope Mr. Hartright will pay me no compliments, said Miss Fairley as we all left the summer house. May I venture to inquire why you express that hope? I asked. Because I shall believe all that you say to me, she answered simply. In those few words, she unconsciously gave me the key to her whole character, to that generous trust in others which, in her nature, grew innocently out of the sense of her own truth. I only knew it intuitively then. I know it by experience now. We merely waited to rouse good Mrs. Vesey from the place which she still occupied at the deserted luncheon table before we entered the open carriage for our promised drive. The old lady and Miss Halcombe occupied the back seat, and Miss Fairley and I sat together in front, with the sketchbook open between us. Fairly exhibited at last to my professional eyes all serious criticism on the drawings, even if I had been disposed to volunteer it, was rendered impossible by Miss Halcombe's lively resolution to see nothing but the ridiculous side of the fine arts, as practiced by herself, her sister, and ladies in general. I can remember the conversation that passed far more easily than the sketches that I mechanically looked over. The part of the talk especially in which Miss Fairley took any share is still as vividly impressed on my memory as if I had heard it only a few hours ago. Yes, let me acknowledge that on this first day, I let the charm of her presence lure me from the recollection of myself and my position. The most trifling of the questions that she put to me, on the subject of using her pencil and mixing her colors, the slightest alterations of expression on the lovely eyes that looked into mine, with such an earnest desire to learn all that I could teach, and to discover all that I could show, attracted more of my attention than the finest view we passed through, or the grandest changes of light and shade as they flowed into each other over the waving moorland and the level beach, at any time and under any circumstances of human interest. Is it not strange to see how little real hold the objects of the natural world, amid which we live, can gain on our hearts and minds? We go to nature for comfort in trouble, and sympathy and joy, only in books. Admiration of those beauties of the inanimate world, which modern poetry so largely and so eloquently describes, is not, even in the best of us, one of the original instincts of our nature. As children, we none of us possess it. No uninstructed man or woman possesses it. Those whose lives are most exclusively passed amid the ever-changing wonders of sea and land are also those who are most universally insensible to every aspect of nature not directly associated with the human interest of their calling. Our capacity of appreciating the beauties of the earth we live on is, in truth, one of the civilized accomplishments which we all learn as an art, and more, that very capacity is rarely practiced by any of us except when our minds are most indolent and most unoccupied. How much share have the attractions of nature ever had in the pleasurable or painful interests and emotions of ourselves or our friends? What space do they ever occupy in the thousand little narratives of personal experience which pass every day by word of mouth from one of us to the other? All that our minds can compass, all that our hearts can learn, can be accomplished with equal certainty, equal profit, and equal satisfaction to ourselves in the poorest as in the richest prospect that the face of the earth can show. There is surely a reason for this want, if inborn sympathy between the creature and the creation around it, a reason which may perhaps be found in the wildly differing destinies of man and his earthly sphere. The grandest mountain prospect that the eye can range over is appointed to annihilation. The smallest human interest that the pure heart can feel is appointed to immortality. We had been out nearly 3 hours when the carriage again passed through the gates of Limeridge House. On our way back, I had let the ladies settle for themselves the first point of view which they were to sketch, under my instructions on the afternoon of the next day. When they withdrew to dress for dinner, and when I was alone again in my little sitting room, my spirits seemed to leave me on a sudden. I felt ill at ease and dissatisfied with myself. I hardly knew why. Perhaps I was now conscious for the first time of having enjoyed our drive too much in the character of a guest and too little in the character of a drawing master. Perhaps that strange sense of something... Excuse me. Oh my goodness, where did I go? Something wanting either in Miss Fairley or in myself, which had perplexed me when I was first introduced to her, haunted me still anyhow. It was a relief to my spirits when the dinner hour called me out of my solitude and took me back to the society of the ladies of the house. I was struck on entering the drawing-room by the curious contrast, rather in material than in color, of the dresses which they now wore. While Mrs. Vesey and Miss Halcombe were richly clad, each in the manner most becoming of her age, the first in silver gray and the second in that delicate primrose yellow color, which matches so well with a dark complexion and black hair. Miss Fairley was pretendingly and almost poorly dressed in plain white muslin. It was spotlessly pure, it was beautifully put on, but still it was the sort of dress which the wife or daughter of a poor man might have worn, and it made her, so far as externals went, look less affluent in circumstances than her own governess. At a later period, when I learnt to know more of Miss Fairley's character, I discovered that this curious contrast on the wrong side was due to her natural delicacy of feeling and natural intensity of aversion to the slightest personal display of her own wealth. Neither Mrs. Vesey nor Miss Halcombe could ever induce her to let the advantage in dress desert the two ladies who were poor to lean to the side of the one lady who was rich. Night, love and light, guys. Thanks for hanging out. I will see you on Friday.